Life Happens, Laugh Anyway podcast. I'm comedian Tracy DeGraaf.
And I'm Cathrine, co-host and bestie.
Welcome to the Pod Lab, Cathrine.
Thank you.
Here we are at episode 203, Christmas Disasters.
Yes.
There's
Two nights in a row we're recording.
Yeah, our listeners don't know that, but we do.
We do.
We're doing our best, friends, to get ahead because Catherine's going away the week before Christmas. I'm going away the week after Christmas. Whatever. We've just got things to do, and so we're just trying to get ahead. So we're here to talk to you today about Christmas disasters. We've all had them. We've all experienced that.
Yeah.
And Cathrine, we have sponsors. Tell our friends what that means. What's a sponsor?
Sponsor is someone who was a humor consumer and went over to the other side of humor contributor. And they donate $5 a month by going to tracydegraaf.com. And you can also do a one lump sum, which some of our sponsors do. And it helps us to pay for our platform that we have to put this podcast out. And it just helps with, a lot of the finances.
Yeah, the expenses of producing the content and getting it out to the public.
Yeah.
So we appreciate all of our sponsors and welcome you, too, to join that elite group of givers.
Please do.
It is Giving Tuesday today.
It is, yeah. If only you knew how much trouble we actually have. With
just
technical stuff.
Out. I know we were just doing it a minute ago. I still don't know if it's right.
I don't either.
Hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
And me especially.
I know, but now I don't know if we adjusted some things, so you'll have to let us know how we sound. All right, well, let's move on. Episode 203, Christmas Disasters. If you stay with us, and I encourage you to, for the whole time, which we have no idea how long it will be, but we'll be here, so hopefully you'll stay. We're going to get this out of today's episode. We're going to talk about the 10 worst things to ever happen at Christmas. This is Catherine's little portion. She's going to do that. I'm going to talk about chapter 3 of my book, which is entitled, After All, Charlie Brown, Isn't That What Christmas is All About? And that chapter is about the many mishaps that we've had as a family over Christmas, raising our 5 boys and just having a lot of chaos in the house. So that's going to be fun. And then Cathrine is going to share a really crappy story. So stay tuned for that. You're going to love it. As always, we're going to share some scripture and point you in the right direction for Christmas, as well as end with a call to action. So what say you, Cathrine? What are the 10 worst things to ever happen at Christmas?
On number 10 on this website that I pulled up, 10 worst things ever to happen at Christmas. Number 10 is there was a flood, a Christmas flood in 1717. Made the list because it was terrible. It was thousands perished in Germany, the Netherlands, and Scandinavia. It says it was around 1 o'clock on Christmas morning when floodwaters first washed across a large swath of farms and cities stretching from Holland to Denmark. The raging torrent swept thousands of people right out of their beds. Can you imagine?
No, I cannot.
I know, and sent many more scrambling for the relative safety of trees and tall buildings. They awaited rescue as severe thunderstorms, rain, and hail continued to pound the soggy landscape until water levels reached as high as 10 feet. It wasn't until the next morning that the storm began to weaken before mustering one last violent punch later that afternoon.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and it says by then, many of those who initially survived the floodwaters had perished from exposure.
Wow.
When the skies finally cleared on December 27th, as many as 13,700 people were dead, and countless livestock and homes were lost. It was one of the worst disasters, not just on Christmas, but in all of modern European history. And I can't help but wonder in 1717 how accurate their counts were, but it does give you, I'm sure it's close.
Oh, well, the terrifying thing about it is, was it a tsunami? Was it a hurricane? What was it?
Yeah, I don't know. It
says here that it was the result of a northwesterly storm which hit the coast area. So maybe like one of those nor'easters, but a nor'wester. I don't know.
Right.
Just phenomenal.
Yeah, it says North Sea storm that brought massive flooding.
Wow, that's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Okay. No,
Okay.
well, it makes all my stuff sound
I know.
like, oh, let's end now. Let's be done. My little minor thing.
I know. Well, ours are what they are, and they're funny. These are not funny,
No.
but it's kind of interesting. Well, I hate to say it, but interesting to hear because it's history that I hadn't heard of some of these.
Sorry.
Ooh, what was that?
I'm sorry. I'm adjusting this a little bit because I don't think it's...
Okay. Well, I'll continue. The 9th thing on here, number 9, is Library of Congress burns in 1851. After Congress created the library in 1800, its collection inhabited various locations in the Capitol before setting in a 90 by 30 foot room in the center of the west front of the building. It was there that an unattended candle nearly torched the place in 1825, but the flames were contained before any serious damage could occur. That might have been a good time for the government to consider fireproofing the place, but in an epic example of short-sightedness, they decided it was too expensive. Fast forward to Christmas Eve 1851, a faulty chimney flue lit the library ablaze, and this time there was no saving it. 35,000 of the 55,000 books went up in smoke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Among the ashes was 2/3 of Thomas Jefferson's 6,487 volume collection, which unfortunately was intended to replace books lost the last time the library burned in August 1814 during the War of 1812. The Library of Congress reopened in 1853 in a repaired and enlarged room, this time constructed of fireproof materials.
You know what that proves, Catherine? History repeats itself.
Exactly.
It really does.
Yeah.
And we don't learn.
No, I guess
All
not.
right. So we've had a massive flood and a massive fire. What's next? Locust?
Well, unfortunately, a sad part of our history, the Ku Klux Klan was founded on Christmas Day in 1865.
Oh, sad. Yeah.
I know. So I'm
what
I'm
an
not going to...
anti-Christmas thing to do.
I know. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of gloss over that one and kind of skip it.
Okay.
Number 7 is the Iroquois Theater fire in 1903. This one, okay. So today, a lot of people go to the theater during their Christmas vacation. I like doing that.
Yeah.
Which is why some of Hollywood's biggest blockbusters come out in December. The same was true 100 years ago when nearly 2,000 people, mostly women and children, out for Christmas break, packed the Iroquois Theater in Chicago for a matinee performance of the musical Mr. Bluebeard. Although the production starred comedian Eddie Foy, December 30th, 1903 show turned out to be anything but funny. Everything was going smoothly until the last act when a light bulb malfunctioned and set a drape ablaze. The flames quickly spread to the scenery hanging from the ceiling, and panicked cast members fled for safety as flaming bits of fabric rained down on the stage. Terrified theatergoers, serenaded with a dreamy waltz just moments earlier, stampeded for the exits as the stage collapsed and the lights went dark. But tragically, many of the doors were either hidden by curtains or locked to keep people from sneaking into the theater.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. Those who couldn't escape quickly fell victim to the smoke and flames. When the fire department arrived, they found 575 people dead. Some 30 more would die from their injuries in the coming days. The only bright side to this grim Christmas-time tragedy was the implementation of many safety features we know today, including clearly marked exits and out-swinging doors that are always unlocked from the inside.
Wow.
There's a true story that Kenny and I, it wasn't around Christmas time, but this story reminds me of this true event. I think it happened in France, and it was similar. They had just opened this grand, like, theater type thing with film in it, and, you know, a film movie theater thing, but it was also like a exhibition type thing. And because of some egos and maybe even politics, they decided they just made some bad decisions, and many people were trapped in this building. It was almost like this. It was tragic. But yeah, this reminded me that, and that's a true story as well.
Wow, I'm getting more depressed by the moment.
I know.
What else you got there?
Oh, gosh. Well, it says Black Christmas of 1941, and this is where there's a paragraph in here that's out of place. But it was when British prisoners of war leave Hong Kong for a Japanese prison camp. I don't know if I'm going to read this whole thing, but you get the idea. You know, it's wartime, and on Christmas Day.
Yeah, but what happened to him?
Well, okay, I'll just read it because I didn't skim this one.
Didn't do your homework?
No.
So you don't know what happened to him?
I don't.
Jeez, Cathrine.
I'm going to have to read it. All right. It says, for a small garrison of British, Canadian, Hong Konger, and Indian soldiers tasked with defending the British colony of Hong Kong during World War II, the holiday blues started long before Christmas Day. In fact, it was early summer when the threat of Japanese attack became so serious they began to evacuate women and children from the colony. The assault didn't come until December 8th, but when it did, the outmanned and outgunned Allied forces faced the fight of their lives. After a week of fierce combat, the Japanese had muscled their way to the doorstep of the central city of Hong Kong Island. The Axis power demanded that the British surrender the colony. They refused. The Japanese pushed on, slaughtering Allied soldiers even as they attempted to surrender. By December 25th, things were looking grim for the British. Japanese air raids had cut the city's water mains and destroyed its power plant. The British governor, Sir Mark Young, made the tough decision to surrender at 3:30 p.m. on Christmas Day. By the time the white flags went up, some 4,000 soldiers from both sides had perished in the 2.5-week battle. 4,000 people in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That's the day after Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, 1941.
December 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the day after. So the Japanese military was pretty, aggressive, apparently.
Yeah.
I did not ever hear that.
No.
Or if I heard it, I didn't retain it.
No, it says also here, despite the surrender, violence continued in Hong Kong. Japanese soldiers tortured, abused, and starved their enemy prisoners and wreaked havoc on the colony's Chinese population by plundering and destroying villages, murdering civilians, and raping as many as 10,000 women. Oh. It's no wonder the British surrender is known as Black Christmas.
Well, okay. Anything else that you want to share for the Life Happens Laugh Anyway podcast?
I'm sorry. Here we go. Number 5, Charlie Chaplin dies in 1977.
Okay, hopefully
so that's
of natural causes.
Yeah, well, I'm skipping over that. Number 4, Star Wars Holiday Special 1978. So I did skim that one. It was a flop.
Okay.
It goes on. I mean, it's too much to read, but I guess it was just stupid.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Number 3, Beagle 2 spacecraft was lost in 2003. It was a European space agency. They launched the Mars Express orbiter thing, and I don't know, it's on Christmas Day, and it was lost. That's no good.
No. It's not.
Okay, number 2. Do you remember the Indian Ocean tsunami?
Yes.
That happened on December 26th. Yeah, it was the day after Christmas, but it was...
What year was that?
2004.
Do you know when we heard about that, obviously in the news, and then watched reports about it later, that's the first time that I remember the word tsunami.
Me too. I never heard of it prior to that.
But we've obviously had tsunamis in the past.
Yeah, I guess. Well, had there been one when we were younger, though?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea. But how tragic. I saw that movie. It made me cry.
Oh, I know.
Ugh.
That was... Oof. It was a magnitude of a 9.1 earthquake under the ocean.
Yeah.
That's what a tsunami is, and it made, the water come up because it had nowhere to go up onto the land, that is, and just wash away, thousands. Actually, it says there were 230,000 victims in 15 countries and 14 billion in property damage. It was the deadliest tsunami in recorded history.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, some of those waves, they reached as high as 98 feet.
It's high.
Before crashing onto homes, cars. I wonder how do they know that? In the middle of having a tsunami, how do they, you don't measure it?
I'm sure that they have scientific things that, record levels. They have measurement tools and such that record tides and all that.
Yeah, I guess too, when they know that there's certain tall buildings, they know how high the buildings are, and if the waves were higher than the buildings, they could know by that way too.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some scientific way.
Yeah.
Now, you have something worse than that?
Well, number one, I never heard of this. It says the underwear bomber in 2009. So it was luckily for passengers aboard a Christmas Day 2009 flight from Amsterdam to Detroit, Michigan. When these attacks do happen, they aren't always successful. So it was a 23-year-old Nigerian who, I can't even pronounce his name, I'm not even going to try, attempted to detonate a bomb concealed in his underwear.
Oh, wow.
As the plane made its approach into Detroit. I don't remember this being on the news. Passengers reported hearing a noise like a firecracker.
Okay, wait.
In his underwear.
I'm sorry. Wait, what year was this?
2009.
Okay, we were obviously grown adults in 2009. And what in the world was happening? And why is it that we have to take our shoes off at the airport because of the shoe bomber, but we don't have to take our underwear off?
No kidding. Yeah, this is crazy.
Seriously.
It says passengers reported hearing a noise like a firecracker, which turned out to be the sound of the bomb as it failed to detonate. Oh, and then they say his name. Okay, I'm going to try it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Abdul Muttalab. That's his last name.
Okay.
It's very long. Was nevertheless engulfed in a fireball, and flames soon spread to the plane's carpet and walls. Fortunately, passengers were able to subdue the man and extinguish the flames. And the plane, people are always heroes. It was the passengers, and the plane landed without further incident.
What happened to Abdullah?
Let's see. Later, investigations determined that Abdullah Muttalab was radicalized by Yemen-based Islamic cleric Anwar al-Awlaki. Yeah, and sought to carry out the attack in revenge for what he felt was the killing of innocent Muslims by the United States. He remained unrepentant as he faced 8 charges, including attempted use of a weapon of mass destruction and conspiracy to commit an act of terrorism. A judge ultimately sentenced him to life in prison. But best of all, the 289 passengers and crew, oh my gosh, that's a lot.
It is a lot of people.
Yeah.
On one plane.
Mm-hmm. And crew on that harrowing flight were able to return to their families for the holidays.
Wow.
It's great. Yeah, and they show a picture of him. He looks like any old boy.
Any old bloke.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that enlightening Christmas material. The worst Christmases. If you thought your family party was bad,
yeah.
Okay, at least you didn't explode in a ball of fire from your underwear.
That's right.
Because of
get washed away burnt.
Come on.
Goodness. Ooh.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah. What you got there?
Let's move on. All right, so I'm looking at my book.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, my book is called Laugh Anyway, Mom. Hilarious stories from a mother of 5 who has learned how to keep the joy in motherhood and how you can too. And this book has chapter 3 in it, which is all about our Christmas mishaps and holiday mishaps, no matter what holiday.
Yeah.
And the very first story in this chapter is about the time that we almost went through the car wash with our Christmas tree on top of the roof of the minivan.
Oh, God.
I have told this story over and over for the last 20 years.
It's been 20. Oh, my gosh.
Well, my oldest son is now 34 years old, and he was
Wow.
in junior high at
Yeah.
the time. He was like 12.
Yeah. Wow.
So, right? Isn't that 20?
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a long time ago. It's many.
I didn't even really think about it.
You
It's like,
can't.
yeah, whatever. I don't care. It's girl math.
It was a long time ago, everybody. And guess what? We forgot that the tree was on top of the minivan. We got a lot of things on our plate, Catherine.
You had pizza on the brain, pizza in the gut.
Yeah, and we had been to chop down our Christmas tree, and we had a full day of that. It took a long time.
Yeah, well, and it, you know your car's dirty.
And
you
I'm
just
a
don't know
creature
that
of
there's-
habit.
Right.
I was in the habit of pulling into the car wash every time I passed there because we used to live out in the country on a gravel road.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I came into town, I'd run through the car wash.
Well, you see, that explains you. It's a thing. It's a habit. But your whole 7-member family was in the van, and not one said.
That's true. It's their fault.
So yeah, you're a creature of habit. But there was a whole family in the van.
There were. But I just want you to picture our minivan, which was black. We had a black Dodge Caravan, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It was covered in like gray dust from the gravel road.
Mm-hmm.
Probably had fingerprints on it all over because
Yeah.
with 5 boys, they're always touching it and drawing things and whatever. And then the Christmas tree is strapped to the top. And I want you to picture us in line at the Piatone car wash.
Oh, I can picture it.
Yeah. And there were cars in front of us and cars behind us
Mm-hmm.
waiting to go in the automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid comes up to my husband and tells him, "You can't go in there," And my husband's like, "Why not?" Like, what?
And it's funny that even at that moment,
He didn't realize.
it didn't click.
No, he's like, "I can go in there." What
How
do
about you
think?
guys? Did it click with you guys?
Not even a little bit.
Because you were focused on the way this guy looks.
Yeah, because
like,
he was
why is he approaching?
right. I don't know him.
Mhm.
He was a young guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he had 2 earrings. I remember that,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Who is Ron hanging out with 2 earrings? Looks like he's his friend. Where's he been?" and then he tells us that our Christmas tree is on top of our minivan.
And
Then I lost it.
yeah,
That's when I lost it. And I almost wet my pants. I laughed so hard.
that is awesome.
And our oldest son, he really did climb to the bottom of the minivan and
Mhm.
he said, "You guys are morons." And I'm like, "Well, you were here too, idiot."
Yeah.
Yeah. He's now a mechanical engineer in Denver and he's doing okay.
Yeah. He's
Little
like, I
therapy.
gotta prove that I'm not a moron.
Yeah, but that story is in my book. I do put that in my act.
Mhm.
I add a little bit to it. It's so much fun. It's such a fun story to tell. And we survived. And I'm glad that story happened because we were able to laugh about it. Another story that I have in my book is called Black Friday Meets My Mother-in-Law.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. My mother-in-law, Claudia, she always used to go out on Black Friday. She would ask the grandkids for their list and they would give her whatever was in those newspapers.
Yes. I remember those days.
Yeah. So you'd always have to get the newspaper with all the Black Friday deals in it because the internet wasn't really a thing, right?
Yeah.
In the early 90s. And I went with her one time. My gosh, it was like a total mission.
Uh-huh.
It was like a mission.
It is like that.
And my sister-in-law, Claudia's daughter, Jamie, she was there too. And we were in 2 different cars. And I want to say we had cell phones or like those walkie-talkie things. Or there was some way that we were communicating. And I don't remember now if it was a cell phone or some sort of a radio.
Really?
Yeah, it was something. Because she was at Toys R Us. And she had the list of things that needed to get there. And, that was when they had the doorbusters and they only had so many.
Oh,
and you
yeah.
had to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Or they would
Right.
run out. And there was no Cyber Monday then.
No.
friends.
No.
Didn't exist.
No, you had to physically be there, and you may be physically run over or beat up. Or
That's
shoved. Because that's how it
exactly
was.
right. And the line around like Best Buy for the tech stuff and the
Yeah.
electronics, it could be around the building down the block.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it used to be. And then when we were actually in, like I remember being in Kohl's looking for stuff, that's on the Black Friday doorbuster deals.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, I've got things that I don't even want
I
or
know.
need. I'm like, I don't even want this.
It's the hysteria. It's like, I better get this before somebody else does, and then I'm going to miss, and it'll be, never ever.
That's exactly right.
I know.
And so it's a big scam. And then I think we were wearing these little headbands.
Didn't you say that? Yeah,
I think I did. I think I did.
With the little antenna and balls?
Right, so we could find each other.
I think that's awesome.
In the store.
It is literally like a mission. It is like, hut, hut, hut. Let's see how we can. When I used to go here and there were people that wore the same coats or the same shirts.
Yeah.
And yeah. Lots of fun.
Okay, another story I have in my book, it's called Lower Your Standards So You Can Meet Them.
Yeah.
And I think we can all take a play out of that book.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, just having celebrated Thanksgiving this past week, sometimes our standards are too high of ourselves and or of other people.
Yeah.
And we need to bring our standard down a little bit so that we don't have so much pressure.
Yeah.
Right?
Some good advice there.
There is. I like that idea of just kind of chillaxing. Here's another one. Martha Stewart never ordered pizza on Christmas Eve.
Yes, I love this one.
This happened. This was the very first time that I ever hosted a holiday meal for my husband's family. And we had 2 babies. We had like a baby, like an infant type baby that couldn't walk or crawl or talk or anything, that just cried all the time. That was my son, Luke. I mean, he was a crier.
Yeah.
If you ever had a baby that was a crier, I mean, he cried from the time he came out of my womb.
Sorry.
Till he was like 4 years old. He doesn't cry anymore, but he's grown man
It's just hard to imagine because he's so
chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he cried. He got it all out in the first 4 years.
Right.
So that was Luke. I think he had gas, really. And then Nate, our oldest son, he was really chill and laid back, but he was a toddler.
Yeah.
So I was taking care of the crier and the toddler and preparing a Martha Stewart menu for Christmas. She, how she used to have her magazine and her show and all that. Well, nothing was going right. Ron was at work. I was supposed to have all this done before he got home. He came home. The crier was crying. And then the other baby, our oldest, he was just getting into everything.
Yeah.
Because I was so busy trying to get the food together while holding an infant, or a baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was like, the house was torn up a mess.
Ugh.
And Ron came in the house and now I'm crying. So Ron took the baby and he used to put him in a little football hold and he would tuck his head under his armpit. And I don't know if the smell or the the warmth, the moistness, whatever, it calmed him down.
Yeah.
So there went Luke.
Yeah.
He went to we used to call it the pit treatment. He got that. And then I don't remember what he did with Nate. And he hugged me and he said, you know what? This is not what Christmas is.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. He said, we got to focus in on what Christmas is.
That is awesome. What a great response.
I know.
That he had.
I know.
It could have been a make it or break it moment. It could have been like, no, it could have just not a divorce moment, but that really.
Right. We could have gotten into an argument of some sort. But so then the 2 of us, we grabbed garbage bags and we put all the toys and the food and everything in these bags and just set them in the basement.
Because the food too. Wow.
Whatever we could, we just shoved it in the bags, I mean, I don't think we put stuff from the refrigerator in there, but there were things out everywhere. So let's say it was like a box of Cheerios or whatever. We just stuffed everything randomly in bags, put it in the basement. And then when our guests came, so my husband's family, we ordered pizza.
Yeah.
And we had the best Christmas. And then for several years after that, while the kids were little, we just said, forget the fancy food. We're going to order a pizza. And that's what we did.
Very good.
Yeah. I got a good one, that husband of mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the next story in my chapter is $10 says you cannot not be sarcastic.
I remember that one.
Yeah. That was just my introduction to the DeGraaf family. They're very sarcastic people. They just like to just always with the one-up'ems and the sarcasm and all the stuff. And I was not like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why? Anyway, I bet them $10, which was a lot of money back in the 90s. I bet you $10 that whoever's the last one standing that hasn't been sarcastic, can have the $10. Well, yeah.
Don't you have in there the turkey? Did you burn a turkey?
Oh, yeah, that's next, I think. Oh, no, we had The next one is a mockingbird almost gets it with a tennis racket. We had 2 birds that were in a wreath.
Oh, yeah.
And one flew in the house and one flew out. So we had a bird in the house that we had to tackle.
Oh, it reminds me of Christmas Vacation when the squirrel runs into the house.
Exactly like that.
And they're all going berserk.
Yeah, I think my fires in the oven was from I put that in a different chapter. But anyway, that's it for chapter 3.
Oh, gosh. Well, good stories. It reminded me of one year I told Kenny and I were dating, and I told his mom that I would get the turkey, and I'm surprised she let me. We used to go out the night before Thanksgiving. You know, we were one of those that would go out the Wednesday night, and I think I forgot. Well, I didn't realize you had to defrost a big 22 or 24 pound turkey days ahead of time.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like Wednesday night. I'm like, ooh, the turkey's pretty solid. And so I brought it to his mom's house the next day like that, thinking that we could cook it up.
Put it in the oven.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's, you just don't know.
Oh,
you don't know until you know.
What she thought of that. Holy cow. Yeah.
I'm sure somebody this past Thanksgiving probably did that same thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, finally, Cathrine, let's hear it from you on the crappy story that you're going to share.
Okay. So every year we would have with my cousins and the aunts and uncles, Thanks Christmas. And usually my cousin would host it. And one year I get to the door and I'm getting there early because sometimes it's nice to just get there ahead of time and then I can help Christy or, just get settled in. And we go to the door and I usually just walk in and she's standing there and she opens the door and she's just in her t-shirt and maybe shorts.
That's not her.
Okay. And Christy she always, even if she just goes to Walmart or the grocery store, she is always done up.
Yeah.
And she answered the door. She was sweaty. She looked frazzled. And I went, what's wrong? And their sewer had backed up into the house.
Wow.
So it filled the bathtub. It overflowed into the bathroom. It was a disaster. And Joe, her husband, was scrambling, trying to fix it. And all these relatives were coming. But one in particular we hadn't even met yet, which is our cousin Gabby's now husband, Ryan. But it was the first time she was bringing him to the house. And Christy was like, oh, no, because the whole house smelled like poo.
Ugh.
So we laugh about it because mostly introducing Ryan to the family. And then here's Kenny and Joe standing in this pit of like sewer with, they're just got all this, trying to get that fixed and it smells like sewer. And oh my gosh, it was just, like I said, it's so funny now.
When you have a septic field, like we used to have when we were neighbors out in the country, it's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when we got our septic pumped, Oh, and it's just like, really? Oh, that is so gross.
Well, I remember the wind would blow our way. And I was like, man, holy cow.
DeGraafs. They got fiber issues.
Downwind from you. Oh.
Yeah. And I think when you got yours pumped, you were like, oh, it doesn't smell that bad.
Oh, yeah,
like,
right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, your crap doesn't stink.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was fun. All right.
Yep.
Let's share a little bit of scripture. How about that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Luke chapter 2, beautiful chapter for Christmas. Luke 2:13 and 14 says this: Suddenly a great company of the heavenly host appeared with the angel, praising God, saying, Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace to those on whom his favor rests. This is the biggest gift for Christmas. And we just had an amazing sermon that was preached last Sunday at our church, at Christ Community Church. And it was the first Sunday of Advent. It was really just to talk about, the pastor, he's our interim pastor, Rick Sauk. He asked the audience at first, he was like, what do you think of when you think of Christmas? Like, what's on your to-do list? And, people gave answers like shopping and gift buying and baking and all that. And really the meat of the sermon was to prepare our hearts for the true gift that God has given us by saving us from ourselves,
Yeah.
people. I mean, it's pretty dark out there without Jesus.
Yeah.
So God provided to us a savior.
Yeah.
And that's the best gift we could ever ask for.
Absolutely.
All right. Finally, I have a call to action here. This is from page 52 of my book. At the end of every chapter in this book, Laugh Anyway, Mom, I put little tips, like little survival tips. And this one is called The 12 Steps to Having a Merry Christmas and Taking the Ugh Out of Humbug. Number 1, lower your standards for yourself. Number 2, lower your expectations of others. Number 3, lower your credit limit. Number 4, lower your commitments. Number 5, lower your stress. Number 6, lower your activities. Number 7, lower your voice. Number 8, lower your view and see things from a childlike perspective. Number 9, lower your nose in humility. Number 10, lower your number of gifts. Let's focus on the gift of Jesus. Number 11, lower your caloric intake. That's always helpful.
Yeah.
And then finally, number 12, lower all of the above and raise your spirits.
That's really good advice.
It is. I'm going to try to take it instead.
I was going to say, I should
work on that.
Refer back to that every now and then.
Yes. All right, friends. Well, you've been listening to the Life Happens, Laugh Anyway podcast. I'm still comedian Tracy DeGraaf.
I'm still Cathrine.
See you next time.
Goodbye.